Good day, Black Knight scholars. It's Mr. Deegan in the D226 VidNotes studios. Let's take a look at this note. Uh-oh, it's the last VidNotes of the year. 9-6 learning target. Let's do it. I will understand modern Africa and modern Middle East, this area of the world. Why is it like the way it is today? Let's find out. Let's review. Before World War II, European countries used imperialism to control much of Africa. These European countries were trying to grab slices of land. Why? Because this land had natural resources, iron ore, oil, gold, diamonds. And let's go back and review a definition. Imperialism, what is it? The policy of controlling another country, often by force. And European countries did practice imperialism in Africa. Summary: the charter or mission statement of the United Nations in 1945 promised colonial populations, like the ones in Africa, the right to self-determination. After that, independence movements in Africa challenged European imperialism. So the spark was this UN Charter. We, the people of the United Nations. The United Nations is speaking for all people who are not yet free. Why was African independence successful? African participation in World War II created even more pride in African culture and heritage. And these men were saying to themselves, wait a second, I'm fighting a war and possibly dying for a European controller? That doesn't seem right. What would the Black Panther say? Why was African independence successful? There was a resentment, meaning an anger of imperial rule, and economic exploitation. Exploitation means taking advantage of, and that went back hundreds of years when the European traders would force the Africans to do work for them. This one is the ivory industry, elephant tusks, which made for some very luxury goods. Examples of African independence in the 1900s in Africa. Here we go. What European countries lost power? Britain, France, Belgium, and Portugal lost their colonies in Africa after World War II. Independence happened. Independence in West Africa. Let's travel to the Gold Coast, sometimes called the Slave Coast. In 1957, Ghana fought non-violently for independence from Britain. It was led by this man, his name, Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah allows Ghana to be independent without bloodshed. And this is what he said: I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Kwame Nkrumah. Independence in Algeria, this northern African country. Algeria is the largest country in Africa. In 1954, it started a bloody war for independence from France. And in 1962, Algeria won its independence. And here you see a French tank on an Algerian street before the war was over. Independence in Kenya. We go south and we go east to this country of Kenya. In Kenya, British settlers took the best farmland. Leader Jomo Kenyatta, here he is, started a violent struggle with Britain. That's not fair. These outsiders are taking our best land. In 1963, Kenya won its independence, and Kenyatta became its first president. There's Jomo. Independence in South Africa. We go further south. Britain and the Netherlands claimed land in South Africa. In 1948, the policy of apartheid was created. Apartheid separated citizens based on race. And you would see signs like this around South Africa that separated in public the races. Whites and blacks had to go to different beaches, and whites and blacks in South Africa had to use different bathrooms. Those are just two examples of apartheid. It didn't last. In 1990, a black political activist named Nelson Mandela was released from prison after 27 years. And here he is in prison. He demanded an end to apartheid. In 1994, Mandela became the first democratically elected president in a united South Africa, and there was no more apartheid. Modern Middle East. Let's go to the Middle East. And first, a review of the mandate system in the Middle East. After World War I, the mandate system gave control of the Middle East to Britain and France. And here you see the mandate system, the League of Nations mandate system. British mandates. Iraq, Jordan, and Palestine were controlled by Britain. What were the French mandates? Lebanon and Syria. After World War II, the mandate system broke up. This led to Britain and France losing control of the land, and then new countries formed in the Middle East. And we're right now going to be talking about Egypt and Israel. First, Egypt. There it is in northern Africa. The Republic of Egypt was created in 1953. In 1956, Gamal Abdel Nasser, or Nasser, became president. And here he is, President Nasser. As leader, Nasser helped Egypt take control of the Suez Canal, which was an important waterway in the Middle East for trade. It had been owned by different European countries before then. And here is the Suez Canal. It connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. And look at how much time it saves. If you're a ship, you can just cut across this route to get to India and other parts of Asia. Whereas before, you had to take this yellow route all the way around Africa. That is not convenient. As leader, this man Nasser also allied with the Soviet Union and led construction of the Aswan High Dam in 1970. And here's Nasser with the Soviet leader Khrushchev. They're laughing it up. Ha ha. And the Aswan High Dam, there it is. It controlled the flooding of the Nile River, and it gave electricity to Egypt. So it was an important structure that Nasser had built. Let's go to Israel. In 1947, the United Nations made a plan to divide Palestine so that part of the land was for the Jewish population and part of the land was for the Muslim population. And here is that plan. The green area is for the Jewish people, and the red-orange area is for the Muslim population. Well, the Muslim people rejected the plan, but in 1948, the piece of land for the Jewish people became Israel. This has led to religious conflicts that continued today between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And you see some Palestinian Arabs are burning the Jewish Israeli flag. People are angry about this, and the anger continues. Israel leadership. In 1969, this woman, Golda Meir became the first female prime minister of Israel. Meir's nickname was the grandmother of the Jewish people. Meir's greatest accomplishment. Meir's leadership helped Israel win the Yom Kippur War in 1973 against Egypt and Syria, which were getting weapons from the Soviet Union, by the way. Israel could no longer rely on Europe for support, so it turned to the US to help make peace. And there's Golda Meir with the Israeli troops behind her. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. How does it feel? You are done with 9-6, and you are done with the VidNotes for the year. But first, for 2 points, A research question. Think of a question that you have in mind that you want to ask that would start a conversation.